What's up, guys? I figure I shoot another blog video here. Today what I'd like to talk about is Seer rating. There's a lot of debate about that. Ralph touched on it in one of his last videos. He talked more about the two-stage communicating, though, about what's the advantage of communicating. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm not stealing Ralph's thing or nothing, but we're going to talk about just Seer ratings in general. I'm going to tell you what I do and what I sell a lot of, and my opinion on Seer rating. To me, it's all in the customer. When I go on a call that I see a piece of equipment that is going to need to be changed out, or I go on an estimate because the homeowner called me and said I want an estimate, or I go on a call, find a grounded compressor, or blah blah, and it's time to update. The number one question that I ask the homeowner is, how long are you planning on staying in this house? For example, I went on a estimate the other day that I did not get. I lost it because I do not have financing, and they went with a company here in town that did. I am in the process of getting financing. Anyway, he told me they weren't planning on being in the house for no more than about another 5 years, but they did want to go ahead and update the system because they were having trouble with the one that they had, and they didn't want to sell the house with an old air conditioning system because then they would try to finagle them down on the price of the house. So that tells you right there, that's 13 Seer. It doesn't even pay to talk about anything else. That's 13 Seer, automatic. When a homeowner tells me, when I ask the question, how long are y'all planning on being here? When I get this, oh, we're not going nowhere. We're going to be here till we die. That is when I will, 99% of the time, I'm not going to sell a 13 Seer. I'll mention it to them, but sometimes I won't even price it unless they just request me to or make me. But on a customer like that, and I'm pretty good at looking at customers and stuff and telling what kind of budget they got, and I'll even ask them. I'm not afraid to ask them, hey, what kind of budget do you have to spend on this thing? Sometimes you get a response, well, I got about $6,000 I can spend, or I got $8,000, or then you get that, and this is the one I love that goes, don't worry about the money. Well, okay, no problem. But anyway, when I get the response from the homeowner of, we're not going anywhere, we're going to be here till we die, and depending on how old they are too, but if it's a younger middle-aged couple, I'm gonna probably push two-stage equipment. I don't have a problem with two-stage equipment. I like it. And my opinion on the communicating side of it is that the only good thing about communicating is just the ease of installation. Like I did a 16 Seer right up the road from my house. It's a guy that lives about a mile up the road from me, and he sees me driving home every day. He sees me in my van, and one day he flagged me down and he said, hey, my unit's not working right, can you come take a look at it? I said, well, yeah, I'll pull in there right now and look at it. He said, come on. So I did. It was an old Linux system. Found a bad capacitor. We got it started up, and then we tested it with the mega ohm meter, and compressor was showing bad, on the red light on the mega, but it was still running, which means that it was very, very close to going to ground. And then, not only that, the machine hardly didn't have any refrigerant in it. We added about 4 pounds of R22 to it so I could get them cooling through the weekend, because this was on a Friday afternoon when he flagged me down. And, pretty much a middle-aged couple, and I asked them, how long they're planning on being in the house. They plainly told me, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be right here on this corner till we die, okay? So I pushed them on you know, a 15 Seer and a 16 Seer 2-stage communicating, and that's what they went with. And I see these people every day out in their yard. I see them at the little local store out here. Matter of fact, I ran into him a couple days ago and I asked him how they were liking the unit. He told me it's the best unit they've ever had. The house has never been so comfortable. With all the 2-stage equipment that I have put out there, and I don't have a whole lot of 2-stage equipment out there, but I do have some. But all the 2-stage equipment that I do have out there, I've been told that their house has never been more comfortable than it is now. And, you know, and I believe that, guys. I mean, 2-stage equipment, it's pricey up front and stuff, but yeah, it does do a good job. You know, it removes the humidity better than a single-stage system. It really does. But 2-stage equipment's not for everybody. Anytime I do 2-stage, I go communicating. I mean, it's just stupid not to. I mean, with some people it is, but with Goodman and Amana, it's not stupid. It's a great decision. Now, if you go Trainer American Standard, yeah, it's stupid because the thermostat, the communicating stat with Trainer American Standard is $800 or $700, and that's stupid. I mean, I pay less than that for my variable speed air handler, you know, at Amana. I don't know what carriers communicating stats run, but Goodman and Amana's communicating stats run about $300 or $320 something, which is still expensive, but it's not overly expensive. It's doable. And I do communicating for another reason, for the fact that these same people I talked about with the 16 Seer, they were electric heat with AC, no heat pump, and I wanted to move them to a heat pump. And they only had 2 conductors going outside on the thermostat wire, so you know, I would have had to start pulling 8 wire and all that, or 10 wire, you know, to run a 2-stage system with a regular thermostat. Nah, screw that. You know, with a communicating thermostat, all I need is 2 conductors. So yeah, you damn right, I put a communicating stat on the wall, and I added my transformer outside, and yeah, I went communicating on that. I go communicating every time I do 2-stage, every time. I've got 1 York communicating system out there, and I don't have any trouble with it. That's about the only York I don't have trouble with, but it's not a micro-channel condenser either. But in my opinion, I'll tell you this: when I do sell changeouts, most of the time I sell 15 Seer. I like 15 Seer equipment. Now, of course, Goodman and Amana, it's actually a ASZ 14 or an ASX 14. Technically, the condenser's 14 Seer, but when you use the ASPT air handler, which is A is air handler, S is X13 fan motor, P is painted cabinet, and T is TXV metering device. So it's got the built-in TXV and it has an X13 motor. It does, it makes the system 15 Seer. So I sell more 15 Seer equipment than anything else. I don't sell a lot of 13 Seer equipment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do sell a good bit of it, but I mostly sell 15 Seer. I'm really able to push a lot of people on a 15 Seer. There's people out there that I have, you know, offered 2-stage equipment and a 15 Seer and a 13 Seer, give them 3 prices, and they'll about 90% of them are going to go with the 15 Seer because it's not the lowest, but it's not the highest. Not that they don't have the money for the highest, they just don't want to spend it. And what I like about the 15 Seer system is that instead of getting a variable speed blower motor, you get an X13 fan motor, which the X13 fan motor, I'm a huge fan of the X13 fan motor. So that's why I push a lot of 15 Seer. And that's mostly what I sell is 15 Seer equipment. Nothing wrong with 13 Seer. I do sell a lot of that. But guys, 2-stage equipment is good stuff, but it's all about the customer. It takes the right customer to buy 2-stage equipment. You know, you can't go pull up at no apartment complex and sell a 16 or an 18 Seer. You know, we all know that. But if you pull up in a, you know, nice neighborhood, you know, one of your newer, not newer, but one of your nicer, higher class neighborhoods in your town, and like over here, you know when you can push it and when you can't. Even like out here in the country where I live, that guy bought that 16 Seer. Believe it or not, I sell more two-stage equipment out in the country than I do in town. Believe it or not. I've got more two-stage equipment out in the country, like out here where I live in a small town called Colleen. I've got more two-stage equipment out here than I do in the town of Alexandria or Pineville, in town. Country folks out here, they don't mind paying for good stuff. And I've got more, like I said, I've got more two-stage equipment out here and other little small country towns than I do in the big city. Well, I mean, not a big city over here, but you know what I'm saying. Y'all get the point. But so anyway, that's my thoughts on Seer rating. I guess that's all I got to say. Please comment, let me know what you think, and tell me what you sell. What do you sell most of? How do you feel about two-stage? And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, one thing I left out. We're still talking about Seer rating. There are times where you don't have a choice but to sell a 13 Seer. Like I'm doing a job this week. The customer, I did his maintenance last year. He did his maintenance real late last year, almost at the end of summer. And we found the system low on refrigerant. We had to put about 4 pounds in. It's a 4-ton. And the megger meter was testing bad on the compressor, but the compressor was still running. But when that megger shows bad like that, it doesn't necessarily mean the compressor is completely grounded, because I'll always check it with continuity with the meter. But in this case, the compressor ran. But when it tests in the bad like that, it means that the compressor, the windings are bad, and eventually it's going to ground very, very soon. Anyway, well, this man here has gas furnaces. He's got gas in his house. He has both systems are York condensers, gas furnaces, and evaporators that my dad did. My dad did this house at new construction. He did the duct work. He did everything. The boxes, the grills, everything. His gas furnaces are York Diamond 80s. Some of you guys up north have probably seen the Diamond 90s because y'all have 90% furnaces. But down here, we don't use 90% furnaces. We use 80%ers because we don't use enough heat down here to sell somebody a 90% furnace because it's just not cost effective. But the Diamond 80 is the same thing as the Diamond 90, just it's an 80%er. And his furnaces are beautiful. They look brand new. The heat exchangers are not cracked. There's a transition in between the furnace and the coil, and we were able to cut a piece of the transition out and get a look at the heat exchanger, and she looks great. I mean, it's no cracks, no stress, nothing. So, on something like that, I'm not going to make a man change out his furnace. But then again, I can't go higher than 13 Seer without changing his furnace, because if he wants to go, and I told him that, because he asked about efficiency. I said, well, look, if you leave those furnaces, you have to go 13 Seer, which is the minimum, because I cannot change out, I cannot put you a 15 Seer condenser without changing the furnace, because you got to move to a X13 fan motor, or, like a, maybe on a furnace case, it'd be a variable speed blower, but, and then his evaporators are in horrible shape. It's leaking. Well, this one system is. And he was talking about two-stage and all that. He had done his research, and I said, well, look, man, you got to get rid of the furnace, the evaporator, and you got to get rid of everything to do that. And he's like, well, I just can't see getting rid of my furnaces if they're in good shape. And I said, I agree with you. I said, like I told him, I said, you brought it up, not me. I said, I agree with you 110%. Your furnaces are great, so you have no reason to get rid of them. And he agreed with that. So he's just going to do a condenser and an evaporator right now. And it's going to have to be 13 SEER, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And it'll be a straight cool condenser because it's gas. And, and then eventually down the road, when the furnace does go bad, the furnace can always be changed later. It has nothing to do with refrigerant. So all we got to do is take that Yark out of there and remake a new transition, and we're good to go. So anyway, I wanted to add that there are situations where you can't go above 13, and so like I said, it SEER rating depends all in the job and the customer, and that's pretty much it. It depends on the job and the customer. So again, comment, let me know what you think about your SEER rating. What do you sell? How do you feel about 13 SEER, 15 SEER, 16 SEER, 18 SEER, two-stage equipment? How do you feel? Have a great week. Have a great rest of the weekend, guys. And we'll see you guys on the next one.